Hey everybody, Paul Angelo here, founder of the Big Gay Family social program. If you're not a member, please join us. Visit the website biggayfamily.com and take advantage of the commitment-based dating system that we have inside the program. And so now let's talk about sex and sugar. And let's talk about an analogy or comparison of how sugar kills you, gives you cancer, and how sex kills you, keeps you perpetually single. Sex and sugar work the same way. Initially, they're super fun, super exciting. They give you an amazing stimuli, but long term, they both kill you. So with sugar, when I was younger, I used to drink Coca-Cola and I had chocolate with Coca-Cola. And I wish that my mother or my father came in and told me, Paul, stop drinking Coca-Cola. It's ruining your teeth. Stop eating sugar and chocolate with Coca-Cola because the acidity plus the sugar really hurts your teeth. And so now I have to have root canals. That's right. I have to have my, guess how many? Fourth one. I have to have a fourth root canal because when I was younger, I was eating sugar with Coca-Cola and the acidity has eaten away the parts of my teeth and I have to have a root canal and of course a crown. Not only it's expensive, but also it really hurts, it's uncomfortable, and if something goes wrong, it really hurts you. And that's just the teeth. Sugar actually causes cancer. And one of the common themes about healing from cancer is abstinence from sugar. In fact, fasting is one of the ways to heal yourself from cancer. And I've learned this from Dr. Berg. If you have a chance to binge on health videos, look up Dr. Berg on YouTube. He's got over 7 million followers, and I've learned so much from him. I'm going to do a separate video on Dr. Berg's health videos. But coming back to our discussion, sugar really kills you long term. If you're eating ice cream, if you're still consuming sugar, let me slap you. Let me slap you because you are killing yourself. Seriously, literally hurting yourself. Every cancer cell thrives on sugar. So now let's transition into sexuality. Now let's start with the book that I read called The Psychology of Romantic Love by Nathaniel Branden. And he talks about how throughout history, love was sometimes with sex and sometimes without sex. There are many, many centuries in the history of humanity where sex was completely outside of love. That when love was going on, sex was actually an impediment to romantic love. Yes, there was still sex to produce babies and to have, generations of human beings, but sex and love was not something that was together the way that today everybody expects sexual compatibility with love. It takes some understanding and education to really see that sex and love is just a modern phenomena. In the past, it was not like that at all. It was a romantic love, and then there was that passion and sex. Those were two separate, completely separate categories. So now, sexuality in its own way also kills us. And it kills us slightly differently than sugar. It doesn't give you cancer, obviously, but sex keeps people perpetually single. Because sexuality gives you the belief that through sex, wonderful things will happen with your relationships. And that's absolutely 100% not true, because to produce romantic relationships, it's a very complicated psychological process. It's not a sexual process. And especially in the gay world, there's no baby. No matter how hard you try, you will never get pregnant and you will never have a baby. Never ever together out of the sexual practice between two men in the gay world. So that even supports my belief here, or my suggestion here, that you never prioritize sex in the gay world over love. You never do that. You never lead with sex. Instead, you lead with the emotion. You lead with the behaviors and the practices that promote a human connection. If sex works out beautifully for you, then you lucked out. Congratulations, wonderful. And if sex is not ideal, then you work at it with your partner to make it beautiful. And this is really important because people expect sex to be brilliant, to be wonderful from day one. And that is actually an outcome of a misunderstanding, just like a misunderstanding about sugar. Everybody thinks that, you have sugar, it's fine and dandy, and it's not. Sugar actually kills people, literally causes cancer and all kinds of health problems, not just with teeth, but everywhere. And with sex, it keeps you single because it keeps you in that state of denial and delusion even that love will happen through sex. I've never seen a situation, never ever in my personal life, and also in the lives of all the men I work with, and I've worked with thousands of men so far, that they have succeeded to create beautiful relationship through sex, or through sexual compatibility, or through the whole top and bottom matching. It's always trauma-based bonding, because in order to have that connection through sex, you sacrifice connection through emotion and through the healthy process of human connection. So that's how sex perpetually keeps gay men single, because they never grow in their maturity, in their psychology, in their emotions, in their understanding of the human connection process to actually be capable of succeeding with it. And so that's why they always go back to sex. They always go back to sex because they're not capable of doing it any other way. And to them, it means that sex is the only way. And yet it's not a way at all. Sex stands in its own category. It's just sex. Sex is just sex. And people bring it into gay love as if though there's a relationship in between the quality of the sex that you have and the quality of your loving relationship. And let me ask you this question. If that were true, that quality of sex translates into a beautiful quality of a relationship, then why isn't everybody who's having great sex in love? Think about the best sex you've ever had in your life and the man you've had that sex with. Where are they? They're on Grindr, looking for someone new, someone different, someone better, someone with a bigger this, that, or the other. That is the pattern if you start with sex. It has always been the pattern. It's just that today it's so much everywhere that it's in your face, and me talking about it to you now is something that you can relate to because you've experienced this in your life. Versus if we had this conversation 20 years ago, the gay world was so new, nobody was listening to these details, nobody cared, and everybody wanted to be sexually accepted and sexually free. This discussion would never land on anybody's attention because everybody wanted to have sex as a number one manifestation of the gayness. But in reality, sex is just sex. No matter you're gay, straight, it doesn't matter. It still will be an empty space most of the time because what creates meaning is not the sex. It's the communication. It's the emotion. It's the human process. I'll share with you one of the most beautiful moments of my life with Frank was when we went hiking and we reached a place in the mountains with a lake, and he jumped naked into the lake and he emerged flexing his biceps as if though this was a moment of some kind of spiritual awakening. And I looked at that and I thought to myself, this is the most beautiful moment of my life that probably will never be beaten by anything else. That was the most beautiful moment of seeing this man coming out of this lake and celebrating his transformation. There was no sex there. Yes, he was naked, but I never looked at him sexually in that moment. It was a beautiful, meaningful moment of his transformation. That symbolizes love. That symbolizes the reason why human beings want to be around each other. Not because I wanted to suck his dick at that moment, not because I wanted to have sex with him. That was not in that moment at all. It was something completely different. It was the meaning, the moments that were so special because there was depth, there was spirituality, there was transformation. That is better than sex. Sex is literally an empty experience. The only reason why you crave it is because you're emotionally deprived. And just like sugar, sex destroys you in most cases because it keeps you in this state of underdevelopment where you constantly believe that through sex, one day, it will happen. My friends, it will never happen. Never. Never ever. It has never happened that way before to anyone. It will not happen to you. You are in a state of imagination, in a state of fantasy, to believe that through sex in the future, one day through sexual compatibility, your lover will treat you with dignity, will treat you with respect, will treat you with all that wonderful goodness that you are assuming that will be part of that experience. And I'm here to tell you it will not, because he does not know how to do that if your connection will be based on sex. If the connection will be based on sex, it means that both men are underdeveloped psychologically, emotionally, and they will not be able to provide you with all that goodness later because they don't have it here to begin with. And so everyone, without exception, every human being who is seeking a connection with another through sex is set to fail. And that is the best that's going to happen when it fails. The worst is a 10, 20-year relationship that is filled with trauma, betrayals, with manipulation, with deception, with the worst kind of experiences that destroy your mental health. In fact, that is really what happens most often with gay men. They are thrilled about the great sex, but they sacrifice their whole lives and their mental health in the name of it. And so just like sugar, sex kills gay men that way, destroys them psychologically, takes their mental health and rips it apart. And just go on Grindr and see proof of that. Go on the hookup apps, go on the dating platforms and see the proof of that. Everyone's searching for something that is empty, meaningless, and they believe that something beautiful will start from that. And the only reason why they believe that is the same way I believed when I was younger that eating chocolate with Coca-Cola is going to be no big deal. And yet it ruined my teeth. And thank God I woke up from that denial, and I know, and I've known this for a long time, that sugar is not good for me. And so I stopped it a long time ago. That's why I look beautiful at the age of 45. That's how my health is really beautiful, because I've learned that lesson. And I've learned that lesson about sex the same way. That's why I had beautiful relationships. Most of them, not all of them. I've had my bad relationships just like you had. But once I've learned those lessons, I never sacrificed my mental health. I never sacrificed my life in the name of sex because I don't want it to kill me as it used to kill me when I fell for it the same way that you may have fallen for the false belief that sex is something that will make you happy, that will make your relationships better. It absolutely will not. It will actually retard you and him and everyone who's part of that exchange. It will be retardation central instead of a meaningful relationship that can last a lifetime. When it comes to sexuality, it's like a skill, like every other skill, like cooking. If you don't know how to cook, you learn how to cook. It's not easy. And those of you who know how to cook, you know you have a gift. It's not easy to learn how to cook. Now, I'm not a great cook, but I know how to learn how to cook some meals, and I'm satisfied because of that. And I know how to make healthy meals. The same thing with sex. If the sex does not work for whatever reason, you can make it work. You can learn how to make it work, but you have to be willing. You have to be willing. And you have to know that when you commit yourself to learning about sex, that the other person is not going to reject you, abandon you when something is still not ideal. And that's why you have to be with someone you trust. That's why you have to be with someone who will give you the benefit of doubt, who will trust that longer term sexuality can be beautiful. And that's why you have to be with the right person who is psychologically mature enough so that he can stand there with you across the span of 6 months or a year or 2 years, and in that time of frame, come together sexually. That's what I've done with Frank. That's what I've done in my other relationships. That's what I recommend everybody does, because that is the only way you stand a chance to have a relationship that is built on solid foundations. First with emotion, communication so that connection can happen, and then through sexuality. If you reverse this, it's going to be like sugar and cancer. You're going to self-destruct, because every time you're going to start with the wrong thing, with something that's empty. The only reason you start with that is because you're deprived of emotion and sex. But that doesn't mean that that is the right way to start. And because most gay men lack education about sexuality, they just repeat this over and over and over. And one person, like a blind person, follows another, and then by the time it's 40 years into the gay culture, everybody believes that sex is number one for everybody to start every relationship with. And that's crazy. That's something that will kill you, will keep you perpetually single. And it does. I can tell most of you are single watching this video, and you are single because you want sex up front. You want sugar instead of broccoli. You want sex instead of emotion. And that's why you're failing over and over and over. And you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And that's why you can't see it any other way. So you have to learn. You have to learn some basic psychology about sexuality. I've done a course about sex. And so there are 7 games, 7 really powerful games that are unconscious, that are played with sex. And these are games that are psychological games. So we have underdevelopment with psychology. Sex is now the place where psychological insecurities are resolved in. Mostly that have to do with masculinity, that have to do with body image issues and insecurities. And sex becomes the platform where those insecurities and those games are played. And so all of us are playing these games. Stop it. Learn about the proper way to have sex. Remove the game from sex, the psychological game from sex, and look at sex as an independent place that you have to learn how to embrace, how to have sex become your friend and not your enemy. And right now, because you're rejecting people that are not sexually compatible, what you've done, you've turned sex into your enemy. Sex now is an adversarial part of your life. It kills you. It hurts you because you've never become friends with that part of you. And that's why you have to learn how to do this. It takes a while to learn it because you have to unlearn the decades of false beliefs about sex, just like you have false beliefs about sugar, and maybe even tonight, you having sugar at night. Ice cream, candy, yogurt with sugar, or some kind of sweets. I bet you're having some of them tonight. So the proof is in the pudding. You're eating sugar and you're having sex, and you're using sex as a priority in relationships. And that's why you're single. So most of you are single and eating sugar. Now, how is that ever going to work? It will never work. You have to stop the sugar and you have to stop that sexual prioritization and turn it around and eat healthy and then have relationships that start with emotion and communication. And then sex, you will have to learn how to bring it into the relationship step by step. And in order to do that, you have to have trust with this person so that both of you recognize that this is a process that's beautiful. You are merging sexually. It's the most beautiful process, but you have to be super open about it. You can't be contained. You have to be open. So my friends, sugar and sex will kill you, will keep you single forever. Eliminate sugar and stop prioritizing with sex. And I believe that the miracles that you're looking for when it comes to your health and when it comes to your personal life will happen for you a lot faster. And I mean like 90% faster, really fast. So I'm inviting you to that switch, to that transformation, to that change, it's good for you. It will change your life like it changed mine, and it's changing the lives of the people in the Big Gay Family Social Program, where we promote emotional connections, where we promote communication as the foundation for loving relationships. And if you were in the program, and those of you who are part of Big Gay Family, you are seeing this for yourself. The transformation of your personal life by turning things around, looking at other gay men as beautiful beings that you connect with emotionally and spiritually and through communication. And then sex will work out. It will. It seriously will. But you just need to see it for yourself and practice this a few times. And you see it's no big deal if you start out sexually confused with each other and you don't know how to make it work. You open up to each other. And the process of openness becomes the proof that you are there for each other. And the relationships that do begin this way are relationships that are very difficult to break apart. Because if you start out with that amount of commitment to each other, if you start out with that amount of willingness to learn and open up, I'm telling you guys, this is the kind of relationship that will last a lifetime. And sex will never hurt any of the partners because you start out by accepting the complexity of sex and you give each other the time to unfold sexually into each other's lives. And that, my friends, is such a beautiful moment of being human being and entering into the life of another being, that you'll be so thrilled, you'll be so passionate, you'll be so taken by that moment. You'll look back at your life and the past attempts of forming relationships. You're going to recognize it was just trashy trash most of the time. Trashy trash approach. Of course it would never work because you can't make human relationships that are so infinitely complex and beautiful about sex, especially at the very beginning. Okay, my friends, I'm going to be wrapping this up for you right now. So thank you for listening. And I think the message is very clear. Stop the sugar and stop the sex as a prioritization, and your life will unfold as a gay man in a beautiful way. And if you want to join us at the Big Gay Family Social Program where we practice these methodologies, then visit us at biggayfamily.com and see it for yourself. If you don't believe what I say, try it out, and you're going to see this in practice inside the program. Okay, my friends, thanks so much for listening. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.